I don't even know where I'm going with this. But you coming with me, my knock. My knockers is with me, man. Drop Nation. And we got it on, we got our perspective on point, man. We got our perspective on point, my knock. We don't have to know where we going. We just gotta go. When it feels good to us, man, we just gotta go. Some knockers got their eyes shut, but they walk around like they got their eyes wide open. I mean, when you got your eyes shut and you think they're wide open, you in a dream, man. You in the Matrix, man. You got your eyes shut. You don't see clearly. You still think you're from Africa, man? Huh? You still think you're from Africa, man? Think about it, man. I need you to get this Zanza. Naga's working hard to put the Zan on your heart bone. Put that Ruwak, you know what I mean? All the way on Kun Kun. You still think you're from Africa? There ain't one African proverb talking about millions of people getting kidnapped from Africa and sent anywhere, man. No Africans hear about this slave trade in Africa, man. They don't hear, oh, the white man's gonna kidnap you and take you to the faraway land. That's not written anywhere, man. They don't know nothing about this until they get here in public school. They say, you niggas think what? You don't know you're the aboriginals, man? You don't know you're the originals? You got your orientation in a crux, man? You don't know which way is east and west? You don't know which way is north and south? Halal HaWah for the orientation, for the vibration. Man, Halal HaWah for my jigger, man. Who put this ether right on our mind bone, man. Right on our heart bone. Right on our soul bone. Hey, top of the soul bone. Look out for the Soul Bone podcast. We're going to discuss stuff like this. We're going to talk about the ether. But to see Naga sitting there in real time talking about it, it's going to raise the vibration. The frequency is going to be crazy. So, hey, look out for us, man. Soul Bone podcast. Top of the Soul Bone. And I ain't talking about no Invictus, man. They can't steal our Ruwak. They can't steal our sun. They can't steal our soul. Top of the soul. East and West. We talking time travel. My jigger say, man, that ain't even time travel, man. That's ether travel, man. All this is hijacked. Space time is the ether. We're gonna talk ether, man. We're gonna get wavy. We're gonna belly flop. My jigger, drop some great links to share with the tribe. We're gonna do that. Look out for my jigger's new Tribal Mafia Tribe Up music song popping off, a new track. Fresh strudel. Been meaning to drop it for you. I'm excited. So that's going to, follow this drop right here, man. And we having a great time. It's the fifth wave. You feel the frequency. You feel the pace we on. You know what I mean? You're now seeing the vision that is Drop Nation, Tribe Up Music, MHOE, Nagaville. You seeing what's happening. One man can't make this up. This is a treasure chest of drop, man. Hey, come get some, man. Just come in order. And know who opened the door for you. Halal HaWah. When a Naga open the door for you, the first thing you do is turn around and say, my Naga, where you need me? What do you need? How can I make this door even bigger for the Nagas to get through here? You don't turn around and try to boast yourself over the Naga that opened the door for you, that, gave you any level of perspective so you can see clearly. That's honor. You don't walk in a dojo as a white belt and stand in front of the brown belts, man, because you think you know something from another dojo. No, you come respecting that dojo, and HaWah is giving us energy frequency to share with the tribe from day one, and the tribe is growing and the tribe is increasing. As you come into this tribe, come in order when you walk through the dojo. because we accept nothing less than respect around here. HaWah gave us this. We share it freely. The water to the tribe, my Nagas, for keeping the water flowing. And the water to the cons that, have stepped up and supported us throughout all the years, supported our orientation, our perspective throughout all the years, everything we've done. The water to you. Man, you're allowing us to be independent. You're allowing us, me, to be independent. To do this for the Ahab, you know what I'm saying? Because of your support. Dragons on the wall. Let's go, man. I say all that to get the jabronis out of here. The hijack can't take frequency talk, so they get out of here. My real Nagas is here right now. Y'all ready to pop off? We're talking time travel balls. We're talking to quantum. We're talking to ether, my jiggy. We're talking east and west. How do they time travel, man? Go get that space loop drop. You ain't got the space loop drop? Go get it. I got a playlist called Flat Drop. Just go get the drop. Hey, check out the playlist. They growing. I'm just trying to categorize things around here. So when Nagas come in, whatever years from now, in the future, boss, when they time travel, they can still, find some order, some organization to surf the wave with the tribe, realize we wavy, we original. It's an original spark. You don't see us trying to be like nobody else. You don't see me drop trying to be like nobody else, emulate nobody else. You see an original spark, an original frequency that's rooted in pedigree from the cons that come before me. This energy you feel, man, comes from my big bro, Judah, the great Jedi. Shout out to the Khan. It comes from my pops. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Khan. You know what I'm saying? It comes all the way up the line, man. This energy you feel comes from your father, comes from your grandfather, your mothers, your grandmothers. You don't feel this independently. We're talking fourth dimensional space, the space loops, man. Shit, we're talking what they call it, quantum leaps and all that, you know what I'm saying? Transportation, quantum, we're gonna get quantum, man, but they got a lot of names for this stuff. My jigger just call it the ether, man. You don't get this feeling from nowhere, man. You're connected. You are HaWah. You see that by now? You are HaWah. There ain't no separation from a father and his son, from a mother and her daughter, and a mother and her son, a father and his daughter. There's no separation. It's frequency. It's noon. It's 9 code. It's the seed, man. An apple tree grows because of the seed you plant, man. Don't discount the seed. The soil is equally important. You have terrible soil, you'll have a terrible sprout. Yet even that sprout still comes from the seed. That sprout can be re-sprouted. You can get new life by planting in the right seed, right? Hasharala. Our seed is of utmost importance because the seed is the vibration, is the frequency. And we have our framer, our Ama, taking all those ingredients, all those possibilities, because it's all happening. Ama takes all them possibilities, the whole wave of possibilities, and she creates a fine meal. She's not just your earthly mother, she's Ama. She's not just Mother Earth. She's energy, frequency, vibration, life. Nothing in creation happened without her. Proverbs chapter 8. Read about it. Mama speaking for herself. I was first of his works. Then came everything else. Before the waters were flowing, I was here. Man, you must be thoughtless, man. Mama's crying out at the gates. When you walk through the door, the doll, she's there with her hands raised high, giving you that breath, that revelation. You think I'm popping off out of nowhere, man? This is frequency talk. Ain't nobody talk, and I gotta talk like this. This comes from within us, man. You don't see no blueprint to popping off. 432, the drop style. This is HaWah giving, man. We doing this for the tribe, man. You don't feel this by now, man? Then exit out the back door before you get kicked out the front door. Because you in a dojo, like it or not. I respect your dojo, you gonna respect Drop Nation. Somebody built this for you, my nigga. It's taking everything, Halal HaWah. You in a dojo. Let's get it. Oh, we want a time travel boss. Let the tie back Zion. All my aquas sending me amazing drop. My sisters is popping off. Matter of fact, I really forgot which sisters sent me this because I had it up for a minute. But my aqua that sent me this Ahab tie back Zion, it's like a 95% chance it was from Ty because Ty Battle dropped so much. So Ahab tie back Zion. Let go. Traveling back in time is possible. Inside universe is that spin. Time travel is possible inside universes that spin. Hey, say it with me. Time travel is possible inside universes that spin. See, your water is spinning counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise. The further you get into the center of the ring, the further you get out, you're getting different waters that's spinning in different directions. And this is how the masters of navigation navigate. They don't navigate off the Mercator projection. They navigate off the azimuthal, equidistant, AE flat, Earth map. You know what I'm saying? The same one on a UN flag. The same one on a UN flag. See, I love combining frequency drop with orientation. We gonna talk ether, man. Cause my jigger talking ether, man. Time travel is possible in a universe that spins. We're talking about that water, and we're talking about east and west, right? And that's the key. That's the key that's not taught in public school. This is the key. East and west is counterclockwise and clockwise. You go in one of those directions for a consistent amount of time, quote unquote, that has something to do with going in the past and the future. We talked about Earth being a clock, right? Go get the drop, just get the drop, man. Stay in the classroom. Earth as a clock, right? So we saw the maps with the clock around the edges and all that. We said it's 12 o'clock, the equator. Interesting, right? Now these land masses, Europe, Russia, Alaska, Greenland. Greenland's interesting, man. Because no one taught Greenland, man. Oh, it's just a sheet of ice. That's all they wanted. That's all they tell us, man. But they all connect to the north. And all your compasses point north to the center. And everything outside is the South Circle or Antarctica. This is from a Persian cartographer, Abazayid, in the 1800s. John G. Abazayid. It's very simple. So then you got Australia connecting to the South Circle. South America connects to the South Circle or Terra Fuego or Tarazanta, right? But again, east, west, west, east. That's the spinning. If you spin, you go back to the future, man. Because time travel is possible. Traveling back in time is possible. Inside universes that spin. I mean, you could be your own spinning universe, man. It turns out that time travel into the past is actually relatively easy. All you need to do is make the universe rotate. Come on, boss. Hey, I'm out of here. I'm out of here, boss. What do you think Superman was doing when he was flying around the ball? Go get the job, man. You ain't in the classroom. You ain't in the dojo. Hey, man, everybody's a white belt at something, man. Just remember that. No matter, what dojo you're walking in life, everybody's a white belt at something. I love starting new paths, you know what I'm saying? A new practice, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you're doing, if it's martial arts, hey man, let me try Kempo. Now you're a white belt at Kempo. You might be a black belt at Taekwondo, but now you're a white belt at Kempo or Jiu-Jitsu or Aikido or Capoeira, you know what I'm saying? All these, you start a new path, a new journey. That's the path of an artist. Don't be afraid of being a beginner because you need a beginning in every story. Every story needs a beginning. The famous mathematician Kurt Gödel was a friend and neighbor of Albert Einstein at Princeton. He became incredibly curious about Einstein's general theory of relativity, which was and continues to be our modern formulation of the gravitational force. Got it. That theory connects the presence of matter and energy to the bending and warping of space and time, and then connects that bending and warping to the behavior of matter and energy. Gödel was curious as to whether relativity could allow time travel into the past. Einstein's theory purported to be an ultimate framework for the nature of space and time. As far as we know, time travel into the past is forbidden, boss. Forbidden, boss. By whom? So Gödel reckoned that general relativity should automatically disallow it. And Gödel discovered that actually general relativity is perfectly fine with time travel into the past. The trick is to set the universe in motion. Can we say CERN, Hadron, particle collider in a circle 17 miles long on the temple of Apollyon? Just call them thoughts, man. Call them Mercury. Call them Hermes, Trigonomegestes, call them Tahuti. You gotta dodge the hydra in every language. The trick, because Mercury sure is a trickster. You gotta set the universe in motion. So they set everything in motion around you, or excuse me, they set you in motion around the sun, right? When everything is set in motion truly around you. Whether we're talking the water, whether we're talking the luminaries. Gödel constructed a relatively simple and artificial model universe to prove his point. This universe is rotating and contains only one ingredient. That ingredient is a negative cosmological constant that resists the centrifugal force of the rotation to keep the universe static. Why you want to keep it static, boy? Gödel found that if you follow a particular path in this rotating universe, you can end up in your own paths. You would have to travel incredibly far, billions of light years, or 12,000 miles, or 50,000 miles. We don't know, east or west. You would have to travel incredibly far, billions of light years along to do it, but it can be done. As you travel, you will get caught up in the rotation of the universe that isn't just a rotation of the stuff in the cosmos, but of both space and time themselves. Or are we talking the ether, balls? Let's talk quantum. We got that water. Let's talk ether, boss. The upper air, the upper room, the upper room. Let's go. You thought we was done? Thought we was finished? Nah, man. We just went so hard. And the first wave, man, second wave, third wave, fourth wave, and this is just our checkpoints as a tribe in our investigation. We're in the fifth wave, and we just pop right into the fifth wave. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like you got to make sure the foundation is built. You know, it's not just about building the highest castle, the highest temple. Nah, man, it's about building a foundational structure that lasts. Something that continues no matter what the wind is blowing in. No matter what hijacks come into the land, it's foundational. You can't destroy the information. It's a merger between the information and the vibration. But we're just talking quantum, space, times, and loops. Are they in loops? Let's go. So they're talking about as you travel, you get caught up in the rotation of the universe. Okay. We talking ether, though. That isn't just a rotation of the stuff in the cosmos, but of both space and time themselves. In essence, the rotation of the universe would so strongly alter your potential paths forward that those paths loop, those paths loop back around to where you started. Didn't we just go over this in the fourth dimensional space loop? Quantum teleportation. They're talking about a loop that occurs every, such and such miles, or, there's a checkpoint. There's windows, like the Bible say, like the book of Enoch. There's windows where the sun goes through, portals, and pops back out. It's a beautiful dance to this circuit that these luminaries are in. What are the stars anyway? Are they gaseous areas, of just big balls on fire? Or are we talking about the luminous areas of outer sky, or more earth, or more land beyond the pole, more worlds? Are we just seeing more worlds when we see stars? That's why they're fixed. Maybe we're seeing reflections of more worlds beyond the poles, right? I mean, that's what F. Amadeo Giannini writes in Worlds Beyond the Pole. That these are just luminous outer sky gaseous areas of other terrestrial areas of other places, just like us. We would be a star to them. We would be glowing with all this light, energy popping off, you know what I'm saying? So just think about it, man. Let's go. Okay. I'm done. I'm done with science. I'm done with science, man. All right. We're about to go in, on the ether. Hey, after all my niggas surfing the wave on the IG, we having a great time, man. Just giving, quick little drops and quick little connections, reminding them what's popping, in real time, man. We got a great community over here, so join us over here, man. A lot of times I'll just pop off straight here, and I might just pop off straight here on the tube, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I try to combine the classrooms and not make them separate, you know what I'm saying? So, Ahab to all the cons, that's just surfing the wave everywhere. We enjoy sharing the drops, so a lot of drop is happening. Y'all doing a lot on TikTok, man, real talk. I'm not on TikTok, but there's a lot of education on TikTok, man. Whatever framework Anak is using to get this drop out, and we appreciate you spreading our drop on TikTok, and we spread yours from TikTok back to IG or YouTube, whatever the case is. So it's all one thing, man. And Halal HaWah, you know what I mean? Yeah, we talking dodecahedrons, man. Don't mind us, man. Yeah, the dodecahedron is connected to the element of ether, or divine air. Yeah, only the angels can breathe in the air. Only the dragons can breathe in the ether. Shout out to Neutral Green. Thank you. I needed this as I'm sitting here facing the south, through it right in the sky. Facing south, well, which way is she facing? See, dodecahedron used to be one of them things that you can't even mention. You can't even talk dodecahedron. And the ether has become the same thing in science, where they used to talk ether. Now it's like an abolished thing. They've abolished the ether. Love to my jiggy, Michael Samoa experiments. We're going to touch on those. We're going to belly flop, but they can't talk ether. They can't talk Naga. And they can't talk dodecahedron. Now put all this together, man. They can't talk dragon. They got to talk dinosaur, right? They can't talk Naga, they gotta call you black. They can't talk India Superior. They don't talk Antarctica. And they don't talk dodecahedra because it's connected to the element of the ether. Some would just say it's connected, that they'll call it the universe. They'll say the cube is connected to the earth. That's why they had to hijack the cube to hijack the earth. The cube is not hijacked. The cross is not hijacked. The swastika is not hijacked. They had to hijack symbols to get earth primordial magical frequencies, just like they have to wear an avatar to get to Pandora. They have to go through the symbols to exist. They have to hijack the symbols to have energy that's real. But it's only real if you believe it. If you don't believe in their version of things, their magic, their spells wear off because you don't believe it. The dodecahedron is connected to the element of ether or divine air that exists above the clouds within our third eye. That's why you gotta calcify, get off all the dairies and all that, right? The meats, because it calcifies the pine cone. But I'm just talking five eyes, man. My jigger guy's talking ether. So a dodecahedron is a polygon with 12 equal faces, pentagonal faces. 12 faces, 12 tribes. 12 faces on the dodecahedron. Can't talk about it. Can't talk about the ether. Can't talk about the 12 tribes. We can't talk 12 tribes, right, without offending the Ish community. We can't talk about being originals in America without offending the Native community. There's a lot of things we can't talk about. So when I put all those in the same cart, the same bundle of turning over all these leaves, all these stones, and you'll see the same element, the same ether. We don't call it a dodecahedron. They calling it a dodecahedron. We don't call it the ether. They calling it the ether, man, All this is their languages. What do you call it? You should rename all this stuff. We say it so that Naga's gonna understand we in the ether. But what's that? It's like melanin. Like it's melanin. It's melanated. What's that? What's melanin? They only got one model of melanin out of infinite possibilities of melanin. They don't understand melanin. They just know that for some reason, this ultraviolet light, the melanin can turn any of that negativity, all radiation, all the stuff they're putting on us. When the melanin is charged up, it switches all that stuff to positive frequency, like the orgon, like that orgonite. Hey, go holler at Natural by Law. Go hit up naturalbylaw.net. Hey, go hit up Natural by Law for that orgonite. Go hit up CJ Battle, Aqua Sam, man, Mountain Berry Raps, man. They got that frequency for you. So the tribe is giving it to you, man. So this melanin flips, all this negative so-called radiation, all this stuff into a positive flow. Like it turns the frequency around. 12 tribes. 12 equal pentagonal faces. Plato worked with this concept as a model for the zodiac. Aristotle defined it as the element of ether and associated it with divine thought or will. Here's an original thought. I've never heard it asked before. What does the apple of Eden have to do with the dodecahedron? If the apple of Eden contains the technology, The golden apple contains the technology, the same one that Mansa Musa is holding on that Catalan map. We're going to do a whole drop on this apple of Eden and all the things it's being called. It's the golden apple, but they say it contains free will. The technology to control free thought, free will. And Aristotle is associating this dodecahedron with divine thought or free will, right? Will. It is seen as the invisible energy of space. So before you say you're in a vacuum, see, they want to abolish the ether, my jiggy. They want to say we're in a vacuum of space so that there's nothing that exists there. But if we're in a vacuum, then how do their rocket ships work? Our way. Rockets are pushing off on something in the atmosphere. All that combustion is to push off of something. You can't have nothing and say it's something. And you can't have something and then say you're in a vacuum. Now you have nothing. Oh, you fork-tongued mamma jam. All right, I'm out of here. And look, man, I'm surfing the wave on IG. You know what I'm saying? With the cons. For the dismount, I'm going to come back here and get some of this cloud drop. I might do a whole separate drop on this, actually. Because they're finding, or this Aqua Seed of G on IG. She's finding like this thing looks like a computer chip, like a motherboard, or like a city in the clouds. And everybody kept saying it. It reminded them of the movie Nope, Nope, by Jordan Peele. So I just kind of belly flopped on that, and they're talking about these ships in the clouds and being disguised as clouds, and the clouds aren't moving. And the Aqua's popping off over there at CDG, so go holler at her, man. But, maybe for the dismount, let's go. And I'll leave this link for the dodecahedron drop. Invisible energy of space. The combination of dodecahedron or ether with an iso or isosahedron or water. You see the elements? The ether with the water creates a truncated isosahedron, representing the vaporized structure of carbon. Whoa. Shout out to my Naga D. Will, owner of Carbon 12. Great clothing line for the Nagas, you know what I'm saying? Royal line. Go ahead at the homie D. Will, Carbon 12, man. That's all he's talking about. Shout out to Uno on the beat. Shout out Uno. I remember him talking about the carbon is the melanin. It's really carbon. And the vaporized structure of carbon is the combination of the ether and the water. Isn't that dope? The dodecahedron and the isosahedron create the truncated isosahedron representing the vaporized structure of carbon. But the carbon is the melanin. So the ether is the melanin. Shout out to my jig. That water, that mem sauce. This is also known as fullerene, Fullerene, or buckyball, named after Buckminster Fuller, Hijack City. As carbon beings, we're made primarily of water and energy. It is remarkable that Aristotle understood this 2,000 years ago. Fullerenes are now considered the galactic seeds of life. And when they say fullerenes, again, all they're talking about is the combination of the water and the ether, the vaporized structure of carbon. I like saying that rather than this jabroni foolery's name. Oh, foolery over here. Tomfoolery, fullerene. Or Bucky Bale. Get out of here, man. So the combination of the water and the ether are now considered the galactic seeds of life, or the seeds of life, man. That noon, that 9 code, which is why HaWah's name is represented in the number 9. Because the 9 is the noon, N-U-N is the seed in Hebrew. The dodecahedron is aligned within the third eye chakra, reminding us of the power of our intuitive thought. My Naga, what would that be for the Khan? Free the Naga. It'll be freedom, man. Your intuitive thought for a real Naga who's in captivity is freedom. You put a lion in the cage, this nigga gonna try to get out immediately. He's not gonna play around in the damn cage and join the circus. This is what Nagas have done in sports and entertainment. We've joined the circus. You celebrating holidays, is you crazy? You joined the circus. Is you crazy, man? You must be thoughtless. You thought we was done popping off? Nah, man, it's just a wave, man. We just building up for the victory lap. Rest in power, neighborhood, Nipsey. Yeah, this that Nipsey flow. You thought he was gone, man? He lives through the Nagas, through the seeds of life. Tomfoolery, foolery, Bucky Bam. Nah, man. We're talking about the vaporized structure of carbon, melanated carbon, which is aligned with the what? Pineal gland, third eye, right? That reminds us of the power of our intuitive thought, our free will, our need for freedom to keep the code. The paradox is that without imagination, we would have no knowledge. Without imagination, we would have no knowledge. Wow. Without creativity, without the creator, we would have no knowledge. Without knowledge, which is your Ama, Proverbs 8, go get it. Understanding is mine. Power is mine, mama saying. Without knowledge, imagination cannot be developed. In truth, we need both. The third eye encourages both knowledge and imagination as we dance between the worlds of divine thought and earthly will. Trust our knowledge and our imagination. This will help us to see that nothing is impossible. Use our wisdom and our intuition to see all the options available to us and to choose which is right for our soul. It is important that we trust and believe in ourselves. We do possess the ability to make our vision a reality. What did Albert Einstein say? Because I got some Albert Einstein drop when we talking ether. Let's go. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. Encircles the world. Let's go. We're talking about the creator. If you like what you read, yada, yada, yada. All right, man. So this is cool. It's a good intro into the dodecahedron. I want to do this intro into the ether and get a piece that we got a snippet of before. It's going to give us a good intro into what the ether field is. Shout out to Period Vid Works, all right? And let's just surf the wave like we've never surfed a wave before. I love talking frequency with the cons. Let's go.
Max Planck's matrix. This matrix is the conduit.
Okay, fair use in your caboose blown, copyright section 107, all that stuff, man. All right, we're just doing some educational recon. This is for recon teaching purposes. We're talking ether, we're talking quantum for the con.
And suggest that Max Planck's matrix, this matrix, is the conduit. Now, the idea that everything is connected is a very old idea. Even in science, in the late 1800s, there was a belief that there was an invisible web of energy that connects everything in the 1800s. And scientists were in a very heated debate, very controversial, as to whether or not this field exists. There was a very famous experiment that was conducted to determine if the field called the ether field actually existed. in the year 1887, the very famous Michelson-Morley experiment was designed to tell once and for all, is the field here?
Hold up, man.
Do
They want to
mushrooms
give us
freak you out?
mushrooms, man. Maybe we need some
These won't.
mushrooms.
But it's no
connect to
wonder
the
shrooms
Earth's
get a bad
plane.
rap. Word has it.
Field here or no? Yes or no? The field exists? It does not exist. In my opinion, it was a good experiment. However, it was poorly interpreted. For over 100 years, our science has been based in a belief that is incorrect. It's incorrect. Now, this is very interesting. 100 years later, 1986, the United States Air Force repeated that experiment. 1986, the United States Air Force replicated the Michelson-Morley experiment. They published the results in the very prestigious journal Nature, the scientific journal Nature. What they found was this. They repeated the experiment with good equipment, much better equipment. The bottom line is that the field exists. They found that the field is actually there. This is reported in August 1986, the journal Nature.
Managa, they had to do all this to prove that the ether exists, that there is something in between things. Like F. Amadeo Giannini is saying, there's nothing that is isolated. There's no isolation of space, and then you have these orbital, globular, isolated bodies called planets and stars, and they're all isolated spherical bodies because you're looking through a telescope and a convex lens, and your eye is a convex lens, and you got a convex lens on a convex lens doing magic. What happens when you put a convex lens on another convex lens? You know what I'm talking about. So you're looking through a round lens in your eyeball. You look through another few round lenses in your telescopes, and you get isolated globular bodies. There is no separation, says Amadeo Giannini, Worlds Beyond the Poles. There's no separation. There's more land, more water, more vegetation. That space you see in the night sky is more water. That blue reflection is the reflection of more water. Them stars is the reflection of more land. But it's still connected to the water. The ether exists. There is no empty space. Even if you can't see it, it exists.
Nature.
In a sense, you're proving HaWah exists. Because they want HaWah to be nothing. They want a Big Bang Theory to exist. They want existence to be abolished. They want to abolish the ether. If they abolish the existence of the ether, they're abolishing existence. They're abolishing HaWah, who is to exist. I am that I am. I exist is HaWah, the most primitive Hebrew root verb, HaWah. First called HaWah, then changed to Ahab, then changed to Yahweh. But Hawaii, Josh HaWah, is HaWah. HaWah means to exist, primitive, primordial. This is a root verb of Hebrew. HaWah, I am, to be. To abolish the I am that I am is to abolish the to be, to exist. Is to abolish the ether. The dodecahedron.
Volume 322. They said, the field is there. And not only is the field there, it measured precisely the way that Michelson and Morley had predicted 100 years earlier. They just didn't have the equipment to work this out. Now, why don't we know about this? This should have made the cover of every major magazine and newspaper. This should have been on CNN headline news or Sky News. But this changes everything for the scientists. because the textbooks all say the field is not there. Entire careers are based on the field not being there. And now the field is there.
Come to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Meet an expert who will do them for you.
Hijack City.
So you
Want
can
to sell
do
us on the burger world?
taxes.
The world of burgers? Man. So what they gonna do now, boss? One more time.
Nature. What they found was this. They repeated the experiment with good equipment, much better equipment. The bottom line is that the field exists. They found that the field is actually there. This is reported in August 1986, the journal Nature, volume 322. They said, the field is there. And not only is the field there, it measured precisely the way that Michelson and Morley had predicted 100 years earlier. They just didn't have the equipment to work this out. Now, why don't we know about this? This should have made the cover of every major magazine and newspaper. This should have been on CNN headline news or Sky News. But this changes everything for the scientists. Because the textbooks all say the field is not there. The
textbooks are saying that the field ain't there. So you're reading about the ether like you're reading about mythology. And you accept a world of nothingness. In return, we get nothing. We had everything. We had everything, and now we get nothing. I'm surfing the wave. This is that PBS space time. Let's see, I'm going back and forth between the science point of view and, it's science on both sides. Science is repeatable and observable. So I was science view. And, those that are, pushing the hijack out the way and really doing the observation. What do you learn? Let's go. Hold up. Hijack City.
Paving for the physics revolutions of the
Hijack City, we play in a little arena, so they're gonna play with us and mess with our net. They're gonna try to slow our speed down, but it just makes us talk more. And then we start talking more and say, all right, fine, just play the video. Because y'all talking crazy talk.
20th century. In 1894, the eminent physicist Albert Abraham Michelson described the state of his science like this. It seems probable that most of the grand underlying principles have been firmly established, and that further advances are to be sought chiefly in the rigorous application of these principles for the phenomena which come under our notice. Michelson had lived this principle. In 1887, he and fellow American Edward Morley attempted to verify the existence of one of the oldest concepts in physics. They attempted to measure the luminiferous ether, the invisible or pervasive medium through which light was thought to propagate. Their experimental design was so ingenious, it couldn't possibly fail.
Just know they're measuring the ether, man. Scientists. So by the time they come to modern day science saying it don't exist, just know that real ones before all this propaganda was already testing this on both sides. Same as the flat earth or round earth situation. This ain't no new science. Real scientists been measuring the movement of the earth plane for a long time. That's science. What part of science makes you accept a theory as a fact? And if gravity is the theory of gravity, it's not the fact of gravity, it's the theory of gravity. but they teach it to our children as a fact. That's when we get offended, because it's war on our young minds, man. You teach us that they're spinning on a ball when Einstein never measured any movement, and no scientists have ever measured movement. And like the previous video said, it's been the interpretation that's been wrong of the Michelson-Morley experiment. It's the interpretation of it, of the results, not the experiment itself. Because when it was redone with great equipment, they realized, oh, so the ether does exist. We're going to get deeper into this. Because if it's been measured, that means that, the earth should be having some type of ether wave popping off as it's going at 67,000 miles per hour. You're going through the ether. That's measurable. We should be able to measure, that energy, that cross pattern between the earth and the ether. But there's no measurement. They take it as, oh, well, that means the ether don't exist. We take it as, no, that means you ain't moving. So either you interpret it as the ether don't exist, abolish the ether, or we are not moving. We are firm, fixed, and immovable, my knock.
And yet, it did fail. Failed to detect the ether at least, but in so doing it succeeded in cracking the supposedly unassailable foundations of 19th century physics. The death of the ether helped open the way for the acceptance of Einstein's theory of relativity. So, today we're going to celebrate the life and death of an idea. As with so many ideas, the ether was born in the minds of the ancient Greeks. For them, it was the air breathed by the gods and was embodied as a primordial.
You see how they try to make the ether mythological? I'm telling you, I'm going back and forth in perspectives. I need you to dodge your own damn hijack. Top Bat already told you this, man. They made it mythological. Oh, the Greek gods breathed the divine air of ether. Oh, they failed the experiment. Or you're not moving. And instead of tackling the question of is the earth actually moving, they rather say, look, there was nothing detected. See, the experiment failed. The ether don't exist. Nothing was detected. Or the earth is not moving. There's nothing to detect. If you're measuring it based on the earth moving, there's nothing to detect. You need to interpret, my nigga. Let's get a couple minutes. Like I said, I'm belly flopping. I got more than a few videos to belly flop in. Let's get it.
Primordial deity of light. In Aristotle's cosmology, earth, air, fire, and water are the physical elements of the world, while ether is the immutable and indestructible element that fills space and in crystalline state forms celestial bodies. That's right, ether is the fifth element. Big bada boom. Medieval.
In the fifth dimensional state, it forms celestial bodies? Like you, Manaka?
Alchemists were all about the ether, also called quintessence. They believed this spiritually pure element had miraculous capability.
Watch Transformers. Quintessa is supposed to be the creator of this Transformers and stuff. We're just talking the ether.
Of transmutation, and in some cases that it could be extracted by distilling huge quantities of human urine. It turned out that was phosphorus. Still useful, I guess. Okay. Fast forward to the mid-17th century, French philosopher René Descartes asserted that there could be no such thing as empty space, and Aristotle's ether therefore both filled and gave reality to the space between the celestial bodies. He imagined the ether as flowing, moving in vortices. These flows...
Stop it, boss. They tell you right in your face, bone. They put a little depiction of Earth right here. So you're in the web. You're in the ether waves. They try to create their own World Wide Web. They try to create their own Christ conscious grid. But you already are in the grid. They just want to bypass it, which is why they were pumping out their super radar systems to bypass the, what they call it, the natural noise, the static. So they had to create a frequency above the 7.23, crank it up to 7.8, whatever. We got to go back through that stuff. This is what this Bell's and Bell Laboratories were doing with their huge radars. They were bumping out all this frequency to try to get a frequency that's not connected with the noise. The noise is the 432. They're calling it noise and static. To the hijack, the frequency is static. To us, they're static. we sense they're static. They think we're static, right? They think we're savages, right? They think they brought us civilization, so we can't talk about our nation, our high-tech nation, because they must bring us technology. So these little lights will really be worlds beyond the poles, more suns with, going around more earth planes, or to eat the wave of the water of these oceans, going east, west, west, east, you know what I'm saying? Nah, this can't be true. There has to be nothing in between. There has to be a vacuum. I've never seen fire in a vacuum. All these suns popping off. Have you ever done an experiment showing fire in a vacuum, boss? How do your rockets work in a vacuum, boss? Let's go.
Carry the celestial bodies, for example.
This is Dr. Arnold T. Petsworth.
Yes, that's Dr. Hijack, man.
No, don't look into
Dr.
it.
Hijack always
He's the owner
on
of
top.
Petsworth
The Hijack never late.
World, a veterinary clinic.
Let's go. Hijack City. We got it, man. We dodge our hijacks around here. We get it.
In circles around the sun. The Dutch physicist Christian Huygens developed a detailed mathematical theory around this idea that gravity resulted from the fluid dynamics of the ether. But Huygens is most famous for his wave theory of light. By thinking of light as a wave, he was able to build a theory of optics, explaining how light refracted, bent in its path between different substances. And in Huygens' mind, that theory also required the ether in order to make sense. Consider a wave on a string. Each string segment moves up and down only, tugging on neighbouring segments so that a sinusoidal pattern flows forwards, while the segments themselves just oscillate in place. In sound waves, air molecules oscillate back and forth to propagate a pattern in the density of the air. All familiar waves, what we'll call classical waves, are a chain reaction that propagates an energy pattern through some medium. So if light is a wave, surely it also needs a medium. For Huygens, that medium was also the ether. He called it the luminiferous or light-bearing ether. This was in Huygens' 1690 Treatise on Light, published only 5 years before his death. Across the channel, a much younger Isaac Newton was sitting in Cambridge, making life difficult for Huygens. First, his theory on universal gravitation conflicted with the predictions of Huygens' etheric gravity. And Newton also opposed this whole wave theory for light business. Now, Newton's case is complicated. Some of his early ideas on gravity incorporated the ether, and he was also an avid alchemist, so must have studied the esoteric version of ether. Whether he also studied his own urine isn't clear, but he eventually came to the position that Huygens' luminiferous ether was bunk. He reasoned that if any medium filled the space between the planets,
luminiferous ether. So just key in on these keywords.
Then surely it would cause a sort of drag that would impede their apparently perfect motion. Newton also favoured his own corpuscular theory of light, light as tiny particles rather than waves. Huygens versus Newton, light as a...
Time particles or waves, this is quantum talk. Is it a particle or a wave when it's all happening? Is it particles, or do all the particles form a wave? And if it forms a wave, then it's a wave. We say we're surfing the wave. Wave or particle. You see, this is not a new psyop. This is what's happening. And it connects to your orientation, your electromagnetic, movement of things. You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
It's a wave versus a particle. Most accepted Newton, as most always did. This was until the beginning of the 19th century, when Thomas Young performed his famous double-slit experiment. He showed that light produces an interference pattern passing between a pair of slits, like water waves do. These bright bands are points on the screen where the waveforms of light emerging from the two slits happen to line up perfectly, reinforcing each other. In between, the waveforms are out of phase and so cancel out. We see exactly the same effect in a pair of expanding ripples on the surface of water. So, light experiences refraction and interference like a wave. Add to that the fact that in the 1860s, Maxwell's equations predicted that electromagnetic waves should travel at exactly the speed of, wait for it, light. It was becoming pretty clear that light was indeed some type of wave, and waves need a medium, so the reality of the luminiferous ether seemed a done deal. And so we get to the end of the night.
No, don't skip over that, boss. That's very important. Light is a wave, not a particle, so it needs a medium which has to connect it all. It has to be all seeing. Like my jigger said, it's not the particle that knows it's being observed. The ether knows when it's being observed, and there's a code to the ether. Ooh, there's a code, boss. That observation of the commandments is an observation of the tribe to be in a frequency so the ether can be activated, so your melanin can mean something, because all skin folk ain't con folk. You want to activate the God in you, you want to activate HaWah in you, it comes with a frequency. The so-called 10 Commandments or 9 code puts us as a tribe, a community, into a unity. We're not killing and stealing from each other. There's no power before our power, our source, which is us. There's no vanity on HaWah. No false witnessing on each other. No covetous on each other. No adultery. You know what I'm saying? Honoring your frame and your shape or keeping your Shabbat. This puts you in an honorable frequency. Now you can seek the Prester because you've already been seeking HaWah if you keep the code. Now, you know, that's what HaWah at the fundamental level wants for a Naga is to keep the code, to listen. A parent wants a child to listen on the fundamental level, man. Can't get out of timeout if you still ain't listening, man. Can't be trusted if you still ain't listening. Now that you're listening, you can be trusted. That's the ether. The ether knows when it's being observed, like quantum. Light is a wave. We say you surfing a wave in the greater light, above the firmament. That's when orientation plays. Now you can't abolish the ether because now you're abolishing everything. You're abolishing the medium in which the light is traveling. Yeah, thought always has a duality, a phantom, a duplication. Yourself, take the wheel.
19th century, with Newton's mechanics and gravity, Huygens optics, Maxwell's electromagnetism, physics seemed pretty much wrapped up. Albert Michelson and Edward Morley thought they'd help tie a bow on it by demonstrating the existence of the luminiferous ether as a classical medium for the propagation of light. The key was to observe a change in the speed of light, depending on the direction of motion. All classical waves travel at a constant speed relative to their medium. For example, sound waves travel at around 340 meters per second, depending on conditions, if you're standing still. But hop in a jet plane and you...
If you're standing still, boss, firm, fixed, and immovable. But what if you're moving like the earth is supposed to be doing, right? This is when they go off, and this is when they hijack you. They tell you, if you're standing still, are you standing still or are you moving? That's when orientation plays.
And you can chase your own sound waves so they appear to stand still. The apparent velocity of an object or of a wave depends in a simple way on the velocity and direction of motion of the observer. This is Galilean relativity, after Galileo, obviously. You calculate what velocity everyone observes using the Galilean transformation, which is part of the foundation of Newton's mechanics. If I were a smug 19th century physicist, I'd want to hope Galilean relativity was right. Okay, so, If light is a classical wave in some medium, then we should see changes in the apparent speed of light depending on our direction of motion. If you move relative to the ether, there should be a sort of ether wind, like when you stick your hand out of a moving car. Light should have a fixed velocity relative to
the ether wind, because you're moving relative to the ether. If you're moving relative to the ether, or is the ether moving? Would you experience the same ether wind from a moving car if the car ain't moving? This is what they are skipping over. They've accepted that they are spinning on a ball, traveling at 67,000 miles per hour, spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. When we've accepted that, just like HaWah say, we are firm, fixed, and immovable. Immovable balls. That means we are not spinning, we are not moving, and this ether wind is not relative to this experiment. And you not depicting or detecting the ether wind does not mean there's no ether. It means you're not moving, right? That's the dragonfly perspective. A couple more minutes, we got a lot more to get
to that wind, but for you, it should be carried by that wind, faster moving behind you than ahead of you. That is what Michelson and Morley sought to measure. All they needed was a measuring device capable at travelling at a significant fraction of the speed of light, which in the 1890s I guess may have seemed challenging. But why build a fast-moving lab when you already have a fast-moving planet? Earth hurtles around the Sun at 30 kilometers per second. That's only 1/100th of the speed of light, but it should produce a change in the speed of light of the same degree. Michelson and Morley set out to measure that. Thus was invented the ingenious Michelson-Morley interferometer. In it, a beam of light is split in two by a semi-reflecting mirror and sent along two paths at right angles to each other. The split beams bounce back and forth multiple times before being brought back together again. And just like in Thomas Young's double-slit experiment, these beams would then interfere with each other to produce the bright and dark bands of an interference pattern. Once set up, a couple of things could change that interference pattern. One would be changing the length of either interferometer arm. That would cause the peaks and troughs to line up in different places. Changes in length quite a bit smaller than the single wavelength of light would produce observable shifts in the fringe pattern. And this is exactly the method that LIGO uses to detect gravitational waves. The other way to get a shift in the interference pattern is by changing the relative speed of light.
It's always X marking the spot, right? It's always X marking the spot. This ain't the Christian cross, my nigga. It's the Hebrew Tau, the last letter of the Hebrew, the mark, the sign, the covenant, the ley lines, the dragon lines. Man, let's go. Let's go. I'm gonna leave all these videos for you. You know, a lot of these are like 30 minutes long. I'm gonna jump and get a couple minutes of each. This is the Michelson-Morley Experiment Mechanical Universe Drive by Caltech. Let's go, man. I'm belly flop.
Come to serve more than a merely philosophical need. The ether was the medium through which light waves from the sun would propagate to nourish and illuminate the earth. Waves can propagate along the surface of water, or through the body of a crystal, or through the air of a concert hall. But any wave is a disturbance that passes through a medium from one part to another on down the line. In other words, whenever there's a wave, something must be waving. But when light waves from the sun reach the earth through apparently empty space, what's waving? In the 19th century, the answer was as clear as space itself. It was the ether. To 19th century physicists, the ether was not only real, it had physical properties that could be deduced by observing its behavior. For example, the speed of any wave depends on the stiffness of the medium through which it passes. And of course, the speed of light is enormous. So, the ether must be very stiff indeed. In fact, physicists said, it was nearly impossible to compress it at all. On the other hand, the Earth and other planets moved through the incompressible ether with perfect ease, obeying Newton's laws as if they...
Stop the capery, right? This is when they go off. Every time we go off, I show you. We see it, right? Now suddenly we're swirling around, moving around the sun. You accept this because it's been brainwashing us from grammar school. It's easy to accept this model, but it's a theory. It's a theory. I got a theory, boss. We're firm, fixed, and immovable. The sun's going around us. This is the difference in the interpretation of the results of the Michelson-Morley experiment.
They weren't passing through any medium at all. If the ether behaved like a viscous fluid, the orbiting planets would gradually lose energy and spiral inward towards the sun.
Orbiting planets.
And since that certainly didn't seem to be happening, physicists were able to reach another definite conclusion about the ether.
And
the ether, they said, was a perfectly mobile fluid with no viscosity at all. It was a transparent, perfectly non-viscous, incompressible fluid that filled all of space.
Oh, wow.
Knowing so much about it, the only job that remained was to demonstrate its existence directly in a clear and irrefutable experiment.
Malaga, you're not on a ball. Okay? The moon isn't a ball. It's a disc. It's not a round ball. There's no round balls in space. So don't fall for the hijack.
Somehow, that job had eluded the grasp of physicists throughout the century. But in 1887, Albert Michelson, with the help of his friend Edward Morley, had devised an experiment that could fail. As far as academic credentials go, Michelson was unquestionably qualified. 4 years in Annapolis, 8 at the Case School of Applied Science in Cleveland, and 3 more years at Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts. But it would take more than teaching excellence to detect the absolute motion of the Earth through space, which in effect would detect the ether itself.
The ether?
It would take an extraordinary experiment with an unheard of degree of accuracy. Fortunately, Michael...
But now you think there's a play scientist? You think Admiral Byrd is a play explorer? But he's your last, not your, but he's the corporation's last explorer. You know what I'm saying? Before they switched to astronauts at NASA, finding more worlds beyond the pole. You had real scientists, even in Hijackville. There were scientists that were really in it for the science before it was replaced by the combination of church and state. Let's go.
Michelson had an established talent for designing instruments that could make the tiniest and most precise measurements. His earlier measurements of the speed of light were better than any others before him. When he was in Berlin, Michelson designed a new instrument that was exquisitely precise. It was called an interferometer.
What?
Shown here using a laser, a Michelson interferometer begins by splitting a beam of light into 2 beams. A partially transparent and partially reflecting mirror sends 2 beams traveling on perpendicular paths. Each is reflected back to the point where they had been split in 2. There, they combine into a single beam again. Michelson's interferometer can be seen as a race between 2 light beams. If the race ends in a tie, the result is a bright spot at the center of the interference pattern. But in Michelson's time, they believed it shouldn't be a tie, that it shouldn't even be a horse race. That's because the 2 beams of light were racing on a moving track. Everyone everyone suspected the Earth, and therefore the interferometer, were moving through the ether. And so the beam should trace out quite different paths with respect to the ether. The beam moving sideways to the Earth's motion makes a triangle, while the one moving along...
See, it's about the motion of the Earth. This is where they're getting the interpretation twisted, and this is why we got the dragonfly perspective. Woo, we got the truth, and the truth is the 9. Let's go.
...along the motion has less distance to go one way, but more the other. On their round trips, the beam along the direction of motion has a little farther to go. So the sideways beam should always win. Michelson knew that the expected difference in the arrival of the two beams would be very small. After all, the speed of light is 3 times 10 to the 8th meters per second, while the speed of the Earth through the ether is only 3 times 10 to the 4th meters per second. And to make matters very much worse, since the two beams had to go forward and back before being compared, the difference in the time they took would depend on the square of that ratio. It would be a difference of only 1 part in 100 million. Ironically, it set out to detect the absolute motion of the Earth. Had he succeeded, he would have proved that there is a difference between motion and rest, a difference that can be detected in an experiment. The truth is that either way, success or failure, the results of Michelson's experiment would have faced physics with a grave dilemma. As it turned out, the dilemma was almost beyond imagining, even to the imagination of Hendrik Lorentz. Of course, we can imagine Lorentz, if we choose, as a pitcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Suppose he had been capable of launching a fastball at 6/10 the speed of light, while rolling past Albert at the same speed. Surely, fast as Henry's pitch had been, it would seem much faster to Albert. But, and here's what the Michelson-Morley experiment said. If both Albert and Henry watched the same light beam, each would think it was traveling at the speed of light relative to himself, even though they were moving relative to each other.
But in this case, Albert is the firm stationary Earth. And this Brooklyn Dodgers pitcher is an illusion of Earth movement. We see clearly. Hey, I'm belly flopping. I'm going crazy. I'm in the ether, man. My jigger got me going crazy, man. This is some great drive by my jigger, the area. Apophis, man. I'm a belly flop. I got like 6 videos of his. I'm just going to get a couple minutes. I'm leaving the links so you can do the recon. So when we continue to recon, you're surfing away. Let's get it.
Ultimately, it's materialism. It is atomism. I mean, everything old is new again. Greek atomism is extremely ancient. We just have a new wave of atomism.
Adam, like the Black Adam.
With Create Studio Pro, you can create amazing 3D character
DC
explainers
series
just like Pixar,
Black
and
Adam,
you never need
you know
to
what I mean?
use complex 3D software. Lose your mind
the
rigging and design.
The atom is the 9. The sum of the 1 through the 9 is the 4, 5, 4 plus 5. 4 plus 5 is 9, man. Adam is 9. HaWah is 9. Shabbat is 9.
Atomism fundamentally
Is no different than saying materialism. And materialism is a soul-denying, nihilistic mascara over top of, I don't want to say disdain for metaphysics, but that ultimately is what it is. And the other one, of course, is the ether. So there's only those two foundations ever been proposed. You can't build a foundation, and no one has ever even proposed any foundation for ultimate reality, both seen and unseen, both physics and metaphysics, other than those two. The ether explains everything, and atomism can't explain what a field is, can't explain what energy is, can't explain wireless power induction, can't explain instantaneous action at a distance. It violates the law of the conservation of energy because they think light is a particle, and light is not. So let's go down in a particular order on these four, and if you can understand these four and have a proper framework, and the question must be asked, does the center hold? If the center doesn't hold, then you either don't understand it, or the entire premise. You do understand it really well, and then the premise of that doesn't, hold water. And the center does not hold when it comes to atomism. This ether-denying materialistic nihilism, which of course is what it is. No branch of science has ever defined the term field. Energy, you think you can define energy, you look it up on Wikipedia. It's the ability to do work. Well, that's descriptive, but it's not explicative. So you can go to Wikipedia and look up the scientific definition of it. There's still not an explanation for energy. No branch of science has ever defined field, energy, or force. The most important one, of course, everything is fields, and fields are not particles. However, and I unfortunately get falsely blamed for this, they think that I deny atoms or particles, and I've never, ever done that. To reject atomism is not the rejection of particles or atoms. But a field is, and if you can explain it to a child, then you truly understand it. What is a field? Well, a field is an ether perturbation modality, kind of like ice, water, and steam, or different temperature, pressure modalities of one thing, that being water. Yeah. The so-called GUT, or ground unification theory, which of course nobody has, except for me, by the way. Gravity, weak force.
Just right quick, he's talking about combinations, and we just got this combination. The combination of a dodecahedron, or the ether with an isosahedron, or the water, creates a truncated isohedron representing the vaporized structure of carbon or melanin. Melanin is the ether in vaporized structure. The water, ether, is the combination that he's calling the field, the quantum field. Let's go. We just want to understand the universe. The universe is the dodecahedron, is the ether.
Force, strong force, dielectric, magnetic, and gravity, they're already unified. Everything in nature, of course, is unified. But these people are trying to unify something that is already unified. And if something is already unified, and they're trying to unify it, which is not my position or opinion, it is a fact that they are trying to unify it. This means they don't see things clearly. Just think about that for a second.
Let's think about that. That means they ain't seeing clearly. We are already unified. For us to even say let's unify is a misnomer, because we are already unified. It's just the awareness of the unification, that we are connected to our source, to each other. Managa, that's the awareness. Us saying we need to unify lets us know that we are still got eyes shut, thinking we got eyes open, which makes us in a dream, because in a dream you think you're awake. Oh. In a dream you think you're awake. Oh. But nah, you sleep, but now you got your eyes wide shut. It's the unification that is reality. Your consciousness needs to match up to awareness. And in awareness, you're back in code, because you know you're not separate than your source. You got to be in code with the source. Thus, seeing clearly to your already prevalent unification. And that's understanding the universe. That's understanding HaWah. That's understanding the ether.
If things are already unified in nature, which they are, and they're trying to unify it, this means they can't see clearly. Because nature doesn't hide anything.
Bang.
The only time anything is hidden in nature is due to a human being's stupidity and preconceptions, which are 9 times out of 10 wrong. So a field in simple, explain it to a child. Well, Johnny, you know what a field is? The Greek word would be kora. Field is an ether perturbation modality. There it is. There's field explained. That simple. Isn't that nice? Everything in nature just explained in like a very, very small sentence. Well, every aspect or attribute of nature. Let's go on to light. By the way, not my position or opinion, but that of relativity and quantum itself. Go look it up. Quantum bases, all of quantum is based upon our understanding as the nature of light. Yet, they have no idea what light is. Light is not a particle. Light is not an emission. Light is not a wave. A wave of what? Waves are not things, rather what things do. Not a particle, not a wave. It is not emission. Nothing emits light.
This is the reason why Nikola Tesla said light is nothing but a sound wave in the ether. Well, sound has a speed, but it's not a speed. It's the rate of induction, the maximum rate of disturbance. Of course, the speed of sound changes depending on air density, temperature, a few other factors. But sound is not an emission.
Light is a sound wave in the ether. So, is light a wave? Well, it's sound. Sound is light. HaWah is the word.
Everybody thinks they talk, they emit sound. Well, conventionally, for mere parlance, that would be accurate. I'm speaking words. Yes, you are, but you're not emitting anything.
Sound's not an emission, it's a disturbance of the medium. You
cannot, with atomism, with relativity, with quantum, explain light speeding back up again after it leaves glass. I don't know if you know this or not, but the so-called... It's the rate of induction of the hysteresis of the ether, right, the medium.
When light travels and it's not traveling either, it's the disturbance.
Kind of like sound.
Ooh, the intersection. Guard your intersection.
Changes frequency. It changes
in water because it's not an emission.
The medium is changed.
Medium.
The same idea of the disturbance of light occurring at glass, slowing down while the rate of induction is changed. This is where we get refraction from, of course, too. Yet no branch of science has actually accurately, vis-a-vis fields, explained refraction, even though refraction is incredibly simple. You can't say light speeds back up after it leaves glass, because these people think light is an emission, and it's traveling, and it has a speed. But all of those are misnomers. Because that would break the law of conservation of energy. Excuse me, Mr. Scientist, does light speed back up after it leaves glass? Because everybody knows light slows down. It's not slowing down. It's disturbance in the medium. When it enters glass. What about when it leaves glass? It's not leaving either, but for sake of discussion. Yes, it does. Speeds back up. Speeds back up to C. Speed of light.
Whoa.
Hey, I'm Joey, and I'm one of the 30 AI voices from SpeechX.
Right here.
You listened to this video until now, and
This
you
cat
probably
right
couldn't
here,
tell
the area hypothesis, definitely.
Well, that
It's
breaks the
clear.
law of conservation of energy.
That's nonsensical.
That's a non-starter, too.
Light is not an emission, light is not a particle, light is not a wave.
Light is not a duality because there are no dualities in nature. Duality is just a fancy word of saying self-contradictory. Mother Nature, the hairy armpit chick and simple girl that she is, she does not deal in any dualities. There are not even one single duality in nature.
So any duality has to come from something not natural, like Atlantis, Tahuti, Thoth. Those dualities are not natural. Phantasm and duplications are not natural. Someone is changing or attempting to change the pattern of things.
Polarization, by the way, is not duality. Polarization, of course, is real, but that's not duality. There are no dualities in nature. It's not a wave, it's not a particle, it doesn't have a speed. We all think sound is an emission. Speed of sound, broke the sound barrier. Speed of light. The rate at which light travels.
Belly flop.
Is one of the point source, the other two is non-point source. All three are engaged in one thing only: the erasure of the after effect of a divergent magnetic field. And the after effect of a divergent magnetic field, since it is toroidal geometry, is the creation of space. So-called gravity, so-called magnetic attraction, so-called static clinging is the erasure of space. Space has no properties, as Nikola Tesla accurately and famously said, but it does have attributes. But space is not a thing. Space is no different than a shadow. You feel cold in a shadow, but a shadow is not a thing. A shadow is an absence of something. So here's the trick question, which isn't a trick question at all. If you think about it, you'll know the answer. What, therefore, then, is space?
Mm.
If a shadow is not a thing, shadow is an absence of something. And space is exactly like a shadow, essentially exactly like a shadow. What is space the absence of? The answer is inertia.
Inertia.
If you understand what gravity is and what light is, what so-called magnetic attraction, which doesn't exist, actually is, and what a field is, just those four things, then you have the accurate foundation of the entire universe upon which everything is simple, is explicable. It is not convoluted, does not require a PhD, does not require differential equations. Simplicity is divinity, and Mother Nature really is a hairy armpit chick, not that Mother Nature's a chick, you know. Really is a hairy armpit chick with hemp skirt, muddy feet, and dreadlocks.
Yeah, you gotta put the locks in it, you know, to let you know who we talking about. Belly flop, the etherverse, space-time, still in that Theora hypothesis. Look to my jig, drop these links, because he wants you to know about this.
Today is the theory of electromagnetism does not provide us with a clear answer as to the question in which medium electrical magnetic fields propagate in a vacuum. Because, and I mentioned this before, and it's really one of a million ways you could stump these atomists. I'm a PhD professor of theoretical physics. Oh, really? Yeah. How does wireless power is charge and discharge the movement of electrons? Yes, it is, movement of electrons. How does wireless power induction work in a vacuum? Well, it's fields of force. Fields of force, yes, exactly right. Lines of force, it's fields of infinite. Well, no branch of science has ever defined a field. They never have. And force is not a thing. Force is hardly different than time. Force is done by something upon something else. Yes, force of what, by what, and upon what. There's no such thing as force itself. Force is not a thing.
Whoa.
Force is an attribute of something done by something else upon something else. It is influence. Influence of what, by what, and how. How can you have influence? Now, if I punch myself in the face here, that's obviously physical contact, so there's obviously direct, but you can't explain wireless power induction. You can't explain magnetic. These people try to, since everything to them is atoms. They say, well, what's emitting out of a magnet is virtual photons, virtual particles. That's their admission. But of course, there's absolutely no evidence for this. It's completely absurd. It's irrational and it's illogical. Physics must fundamentally be rational and certainly has to be realistic and logical. But, so in this article it says, you know, must propagate in some sort of elusive medium, electromagnetic waves. Waves of what? Okay, electromagnetism, right? But waves of what? But we're not talking about mechanical waves here. I've been attacked by another person. So you are confusing mechanical waves for electromagnetic waves. Yeah, but you can't explain electromagnetism either because it's not a thing. It's not a particle. Sure it is. No, it's not. Well, they're fields of force. Force of what, by what, and upon what. You can't define a field. None of these people have ever defined a field. I defined a field in simple such that any child could understand. What's a field? Well, little Johnny, a field is an ether perturbation modality. And little Johnny, of course, since he's only like 12 years old, will say, what does that mean? It's like, well, Johnny, a field is like this. You know, fundamentally the ether would be like water. However, don't take that analogy too far. And these different fields, which we give different names to, are just different modalities of water. You know what ice and steam are, right? Yes, yes, yes. Little Johnny, steam, ice, and steam.
I see
That water.
water, John. These are just different temperature and pressure modalities of water. So human beings
Drop Nation got that water.
give names to these things, which are all one and the same thing. Unless Johnny understands. Because if you can't explain it to a child or someone with a simple mind, then you...
Every child understands mem sauce and a simple mind. No, we all have complex minds. It's just putting it in a simple formula. If you take a vitamin or whatever you take in multivitamin, you want to take the simplest formula, Managa, so your body can break it down simply. That doesn't mean you're not smart. It means you're smart enough to be simple. If you have a schedule in your day, you work out at this time, you work here, you do this, you do that, how can you make it simple so a child can understand? That's the mastery of your time. That's the mastery of space-time, which is the ether.
You fundamentally don't understand it. And by the way, like a broken clock is right twice a day. That's something Einstein said. Einstein says if you can't explain something simply to a barmaid, then you don't understand it. And that, of course, he was right on, just like the broken clock being right twice a day. So,
for just $67,
Twice
you can
a
make
day
as
a
many
broken
videos
clock
as
is
you want,
right.
and you never
Even
need to
the
pick up a
high
camera or use any fancy
can
editing
shine
software. With
a
Doodly,
depiction of
you
you
drag,
right.
you drop, you tweak some
Is he
settings,
right?
and boom, video done.
Or is he
It'll take you
aight?
just a few minutes. So, let's
Better think twice, man. I'm over here being nice, freestyling facts. You thought I forgot about freestyling facts. You've been surfing away. Let's belly flop. I'm doing nothing but belly flops and ether sauce, man. Nothing but belly flops and the ether sauce, man. Because he just told you the ether is the water, and the combination of that is a vaporized structure of carbon
This theory
or
says
melanin.
Tesla wraps all sorts of errors and
Vaporized
fallacies
structure of carbon or melanin. I'm dodging all hijacks for you, man. It's the fifth way.
clothes them in mathematical, magnificent garb, which fascinates, dazzles many people who are blind to its underlying errors. This theory is like a beggar dressed in purple clothes for whom the ignorant people take for a king. This Einstein's theory of explanation of natural phenomena. Theory of relativity is a massive errors and deception. Whose ideas are violently opposed to the teachings of great men of science of the past and even to common sense itself. He also too called Einstein a fuzzy-haired crackpot. The reason why he called Einstein a fuzzy-haired crackpot was many reasons, but the one time in Nikola Tesla's life do we have evidence for him fuming at the mouth, not literally fuming at the mouth, is the notion that space has properties and it can be bent, kind of like you're bending something. And we're going to bend space-time.
When your eyes are shut, but you think you're awake, you're still in a dream. You're not seeing clearly because you think you're awake. You think you're conscious. The conscious community this, the conscious community that. Still eyes wide shut. Still think you're spinning on a damn ball. Still think you're moving. You don't feel it. You believe. You believe in their God of gravity. Theory, not a law, is a theory, not a law. No gravity. Can't abolish the ether because the earth ain't moving.
Space is not a thing to be bent. Space is a thing to be erased. Space is a rarefaction of the ether. And just as you could actually see underneath the supercell, which of course I've known this my entire life, that these people of quantum and current views of science, of space-time conceptual reification is complete nonsense. They're actually never, of course, accelerating. It's not a force, too, just as there's no such thing as magnetic attraction, which is completely ludicrous. It's completely ludicrous. As I've explained 1,000 times, they're actually accelerating towards a null pressure point between the two. That null pressure point is the lowest pressure dissipation of ether rarefaction that is space, and this is the reason why. It's 9-point source mutual mass acceleration of masses itself. In other words, it's an electrostatic torsion or dielectric torsion where they're accelerating towards counter space, because that's what space is. Space is ether rarefaction. You know, I don't care if you believe me on what I just said about ether rarefaction regarding space. However, it's undeniable and explains all phenomena. But the notion of curved space-time has no basis in reality. It's completely ludicrous. It's completely opposite, not OPP, the other opposite. It's opposite
OPP.
to facts, logic, wisdom. It's opposite to everything, of course, being magnetic and dielectric, or some people, the EU, would call everything's electrical.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, electricity is a compound of dielectricity and magnetism.
Oh.
But there's no such thing as curved space-time. This is completely ludicrous. These people who can never in no way deny the ether have supplanted the ether with space-time.
Right.
Because they say as much. In a way, space-time itself, therefore, is the ether. They can't say the word ether. I mean, they can in this article, but that is literally, and I do mean this seriously and not jokingly, in current science, which is materialistic and illogical, contrary to Mother Nature, the ether is the great evil word which shall not be uttered. You could say quantum foam, you could say curved space-time, you could say zero-point energy, but you can't say ether.
And you can't say dodecahedron. Remember that spirit science? They'll get crucified if they said the word dodecahedron. If you can't say ether, you can't say dodecahedron, and you can't say that Naga's original to America, man. It's the same frequency we up against, man. You can't say ether.
And what I just said, it's slightly funny, but I don't mean it jokingly. I've been studying these people for decades. I know all their fallacies, all their illogical nonsense, the stuff they tell themselves and tell one another.
It's illogical.
It doesn't paint an accurate or even sensible picture of Mother Nature.
Nikola
Tesla never agreed with it, but maybe you think you're smarter than Nikola Tesla.
Or that Einstein, well, that's old stuff, Tesla knew a certain amount, because I've heard this before. Tesla knew just a little bit, he's a really smart guy, invented a lot of stuff, but, we've since have a better understanding of reality, relativity.
Mm-hmm.
Far less of relativity is believed or affirmed now than it was a decade ago.
Facts.
Easy Wheels started as my college project, and we now
facts.
sell our wheel covers all around the world.
Back with a backpack, so they got nice and tall.
And a decade before that.
No, I said
in other words, the increasing viability is only a theory.
But that theory does not have increasing viability or proof. It has decreasing viability, and that's not my opinion, that's a fact. Relativity has decreasing viability and proof.
Theory of relativity destroyed. Theory of relativity destroyed. Five Eyes Mod got us. Not only does Five Eyes Mod kick that quantum, but he also kicks tribe up music. You know what I'm saying? Cut the J and the ish, man. Go get my Jigga's playlist. My Jigga, man, thinks about the ether a lot.
The ether.
So
many of which are wrong. This is throughout his...
A lot of his lyrics, you know what I'm saying, it's going to contain etheric drop, etheric frequency. Dodge all hijacks and reconnect in the ether. In the ether. Hold up, man. Like I told you, hijack ain't ever linked. They always trying to play with us, man. I want to get that link that they just completely booted out. Let's go.
Although skeptics often point to Einstein's theory of relativity, it was Einstein who in 1920 said,
"I weigh the arguments to be adduced in favor of the ether hypothesis. To deny the ether is ultimately to assume that empty space has no physical qualities whatsoever. The fundamental facts of mechanics do not harmonize with this view. According to the general theory of relativity, space is endowed with physical qualities. In this sense, Therefore, there exists an ether. According to the general theory of relativity, space without ether is unthinkable.
Einstein says the ether exists. They took the Michelson-Morley experiment and said, we're not detecting any ether because the earth is moving. We don't see no ether. Instead, we say the earth ain't moving. That's why you don't see no ether wind that you're trying to detect, because you're detecting it as if you're moving at 67,000 miles per hour. One more time.
Often point to Einstein's theory of relativity. It was Einstein who in 1920 said,
There are weighty arguments to be adduced in favor of the ether hypothesis. To deny the ether is ultimately to assume that empty space has no physical qualities whatsoever. The fundamental facts of mechanics do not harmonize with this view. According to the general theory of relativity, space is endowed with physical qualities. In this sense, therefore, there exists an ether. According to the general theory of relativity, space without ether is unthinkable.
You can't think about it, boss. You must be thoughtless, boss. Little Timmy must be thoughtless if he think the ether don't exist, boss. Oh, little racist Tommy must be out of his mind if he think, go back to Africa, man. How did he get the scholarship? How did racist Tommy get the scholarship to tell you to go back to Africa? How would he know you're in India Superior?
Ether. Many of which
Racist Tommy can't have the same scholarship as our conscious leaders today telling us to go back to Africa. They know the same thing as racist Tommy when he said, go back to Africa, Niger. Niger, go back to Africa. Racist Tommy know where we from when it's the biggest mystery on the earth plane? Who are the Indians? Let's go, man. Little Tommy, the ether does exist.
Thought that the soul was atomistic, and that it was actually a type of particle. And then, of course, the refutation of various illogical and absurd theories upon something is not a negation or refutation of something. Just as, for example, the Michelson-Morley experiments, which presume to be an experiment on either the confirmation or the denial of the existence of the ether, was certainly a denial of same, yet modern science, quote-unquote, seems to rely upon that as a proof that the ether doesn't exist. Yet, very simply, humanity is still, as it's always been throughout history, incredibly ignorant. I mean, insanely ignorant. Every branch of field theory, which dates all the way back to Pythagoras and surely before them, has always thought that they were right, and later on and on, they're always proven to be wrong. Now there's a current branch of science that is based upon particlism. It thinks that all interactions can be quantified, i.e. quantity, i.e.
Hijack City, trying to hijack the vibration of the nation.
Quantity, i.e. materialistic, i.e.
Hijack City can't compare with the light of a wave, not a particle to pop for the cons, cause right here might not go. Been the interlude. They don't want us to get this job. This has all been, man. It's hard for us to bring you this ether sauce, man, without the content, interruptions. But the vibration of water, it keeps getting through, and there's nothing they can do about it, man. No matter how many times they come with the static, electricity.
There must be something there. And to make their balance out, they use something that has absolutely no basis in reality. Well, I should say,
It has as much basis in reality as unicorns and leprechauns, meaning none whatsoever. And they admit that these photons have no basis in reality other than to make their equations balance out. There's absolutely 0.000% proof of the existence of this nonsense, none whatsoever, and they use this to form the basis of their atomistic theory. Because you cannot quantify a field, quantity, quantum. The entire basis of the notion of a wave-particle duality is nothing other than a statement of ignorance. Like 5 blind men groping an elephant. You know, one's groping the tail and he's telling you, oh, this is a type of snake. The other one is groping the chest of the elephant. Oh, this is like a barrel. It's like a hippopotamus. And the other one's grasping the big flappy ears, and he says it's like a skate or a
belly flap. Belly flop in Hijack City. Every time I talk about ether, I'm talking about you and me. They can't check.
Where the hell? The other side of the house. Literally. Now, if we have a sphere of influence about yay far of magnetic divergence that is, now the Gauss meters are really sensitive too, by the way. What do you think is influencing that cathode ray tube at about 20 times the distance that this magnet should be influencing? I don't like to get my face this close to this magnet. This magnet is dangerous. Oh my God, it's dangerous. It actually hurts your eyes due to the chromotomes here. Because it is no different than a person in the water, middle of a pond. When you actually turn this, you're actually creating a ether pressure flux within the ether that is actually like sending waves out. You say someone in the middle of the lake, start flapping your arms wildly.
Just like the water. He's talking about lakes, man. The ether is the water, right? But it's the divine water.
You know, and of course waves start to emanate. They're pressure waves in the ether. Now if I were able to be in the deepest, darkest pits of outer space and do this and have a cathode ray tube or some other device that could show influence, you know, at even further distances, which is certainly far more sensitive to make than a cathode ray tube, I could put it at like 100 feet and I could bring up this magnet and start to turn it a little bit and I'd create pressure rarefactions and compressions and rarefactions in the ether, and you would still see it. And people tell us that there's no ether. What do you think is reaching out there? You cannot quantize a field. Fields have no quantity. There's nothing there. There's certainly no virtual particles. To say virtual particles is like saying God or unicorns or leprechauns or reaching out at far-flung distances. I tell people, well, denote a field for me. What do you mean denote a field? I said, just tell me what a field is. Well, a field is a flux over given. That's the description. That's not an explanation. Give me a definition. A definition would require quantization. Quantity. You'd actually have to give some sort of objective quantification for what a field is. Can't do it. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like saying, well, this light bulb emits light, this high-powered flashlight. It's not emitting anything. This is a vacuum-sealed light bulb. I mean, a vacuum-sealed flashlight. This is a vacuum-sealed tube. What do you think it's emitting? It's going through the glass. What do you think it's emitting? This light bulb isn't emitting anything any more so that this magnet is emitting anything. It's field pressures. Field pressures. Everything works off two things. Mother Nature is really simple. That old broad doesn't have a calculator. Okay? And she doesn't believe in quantum. She only knows two things, divergent convergence. Everything in the universe is centrifugal divergence or centripetal convergence. Force and motion and inertia and acceleration govern the entire universe, from macro to micro. What do you think? I just asked someone, not given a time variable. This is just a sheet of copper, right? Okay, boom. What do you think? Just ask them, well, this is an eddy current. Well, that's a description, not an explanation. I can get a description from a 5-year-old child. Tell me what this is.
Anti-current, man. He's popping off. He's talking about old bras, man. We talking about Ahab, you know. All right, let's get it from here, man. Man, getting great drop of my jig, you know. We didn't talk about Einstein telling you things in real time. You know what I'm saying? The ether exists. We're going to get right here with the theory of relativity drop. Einstein. Again, it's like 40 minutes long. We just going to give you the intro. I'll leave the link so you can get it. You know what I'm saying? Hijack free. Surf the wave, man. Like it's never been surfed before. You know, does the ether exist? Again, science today says it doesn't, based on the movement.
Although this content differs widely from that of the ether of the mechanical undulatory theory of light. The ether of the general theory of relativity.
Lady, and let's get it back for the cons, man. The ether exists. The earth ain't moving. This movement, that's the illusion. Right? That's the trickery. And Mercury is a hell of a trickster.
In time or place, we do not in everyday life speculate as to the cause of gravity, and therefore do not become conscious of its character as action at a distance. It was Newton's theory of gravitation that first assigned a cause for gravity by interpreting it as action at a distance proceeding from masses. Newton's theory is probably the greatest stride ever made in the effort towards the causal nexus of natural phenomena. And yet, this theory evoked a lively sense of discomfort among Newton's contemporaries, because it seemed to be in conflict with the principle springing from the rest of experience, that there can be reciprocal action only through contact, and not through immediate action at a distance. It is only with reluctance that man's desire for knowledge endures a dualism of this kind. How was unity to be preserved in this comprehension of the forces of nature? Either by trying to look upon contact forces as being themselves distant forces, which admittedly are observable only at a very small distance, and this was the road which Newton's followers, who were entirely under the spell of his doctrine, mostly preferred to take, or by assuming
under the spell, keyword,
that the Newtonian action at a distance is only apparently immediate action at a distance, but in truth is conveyed by a medium permeating space, whether by movements or by elastic deformation of this medium. Thus, the endeavor toward a unified view of the nature of forces leads to the hypothesis of an ether. This hypothesis, to be sure, did not at first bring with it any advance in the theory of gravitation or in physics generally, so that it became customary to treat Newton's law of force as an axiom not further reducible. But the ether hypothesis was bound always to play some part in physical science, even if at first only a latent part. When in the first half of the 19th century the far-reaching similarity was revealed which subsists between the properties of light and those of elastic waves in ponderable bodies, the ether hypothesis found fresh support. It appeared beyond question that light must be interpreted as a vibratory process in an elastic, inert medium filling up universal space.
Vibration.
It also seemed to be a necessary consequence of the fact that the light is capable of polarization, that this medium, the ether, must be of the nature of a solid body, because transverse waves are not possible in a fluid, but only in a solid.
Oh, wow.
Thus, the physicists were bound to arrive at the theory of the quasi-rigid luminiferous ether, the parts of which can carry out no movements relatively to one another, except the small movements of deformation which correspond to light waves. This theory, also called the theory of the stationary luminiferous ether, moreover found a strong support in an experiment which is also of fundamental importance in the special theory of relativity, the experiment of Fizeau, from which one was obliged to infer that the luminiferous ether does not take part in the movements of bodies. The phenomenon of aberration also favored the theory of the quasi-rigid ether. The development of the theory of electricity, along the path opened up by Maxwell and Lorentz, gave the development of our ideas concerning the ether quite a peculiar and unexpected turn. For Maxwell himself, the ether indeed still had properties which were purely mechanical, although of a much more complicated kind than the mechanical properties of tangible solid bodies. But neither Maxwell nor his followers.
So are you in the matrix? Is the ether a product of the highly mechanical?
succeeded in elaborating a mechanical model for the ether which might furnish a satisfactory mechanical interpretation of Maxwell's laws of the electromagnetic field. The laws were clear and simple, the mechanical interpretations clumsy and contradictory. Almost imperceptibly, the theoretical physicists adapted themselves to a situation which, from the standpoint of their mechanical program, was very depressing. They were particularly influenced by the electrodynamical investigations of Heinrich Hertz. For whereas they previously had required of a conclusive theory that it should content itself with the fundamental concepts which belong exclusively to mechanics, for example densities, velocities, deformations, stresses, they gradually accustomed themselves to admitting electric and magnetic force as fundamental concepts side by side with those of mechanics, without requiring a mechanical interpretation for them. Thus, the purely mechanical view of nature was gradually abandoned. But this change led to a fundamental dualism which in the long run was insupportable. A way of escape was now sought in the reverse direction, by reducing the principles of mechanics to those of electricity, and this, especially as confidence in the strict validity of the equations of Newton's mechanics was shaken by the experiments with beta rays and rapid cathode rays. This dualism still confronts us in unextenuated form in the theory of Hertz, where matter appears not only as the bearer of velocities, kinetic energy, and mechanical pressures, but also as the bearer of electromagnetic fields. Since such fields also occur in vacuo, that is, in free ether, the ether also appears as bearer of electromagnetic fields. The ether appears indistinguishable in its functions from ordinary matter. Within matter, it takes part in the motion of matter, and in empty space it has everywhere a velocity, so that the ether has a definitely assigned velocity throughout the whole of space. There is no fundamental difference between Hertz's ether and ponderable matter, which in part subsists in the ether. The Hertz theory suffered not only from the defect of ascribing to matter and ether, on the one hand, mechanical states, and on the other hand, electrical states, which do not stand in any conceivable relation to each other. It was also at variance with the result of Fizeau's important experiment on the velocity of the propagation of light in moving fluids, and with other established experimental results. Such was the state of things when H.A. Lorentz entered upon the scene. He brought theory into harmony with experience by means of a wonderful simplification of theoretical principles. He achieved this, the most important advance in the theory of electricity since Maxwell, by taking from ether its mechanical and from matter its electromagnetic.
So if you take the mechanical out the ether, you're really taking the mechanics. You're taking the mechanic, the mechanism. Who's putting it on in play? You're taking HaWah out of the flow. You're replacing it with a vacuum, man. This is the ether and the theory of relativity by Albert Einstein for the dismount. Let's go.
Potentials, for these confer upon space its metrical qualities, without which it cannot be imagined at all.
Mechanical.
The existence of the gravitational field is inseparably bound up with the existence of space. On the other hand, a part of space may very well be imagined without an electromagnetic field. Thus, in contrast with the gravitational field, the electromagnetic field seems to be only secondarily linked to the ether, the formal nature of the electromagnetic field being as yet in no way determined by that of gravitational ether. From the present state of theory, it looks as if the electromagnetic field, as opposed to the gravitational field, rests upon an entirely new formal motive, as though nature might just as well have endowed the gravitational ether with fields of quite another type, for example, with fields of a scalar potential instead of fields of the electromagnetic type. Since according to our present conceptions, the elementary particles of matter are also, in their essence, nothing else than condensations of the electromagnetic field, our present view of the universe presents two realities which are completely separated from each other conceptually, although connected causally, namely, gravitational ether and electromagnetic field, or, as they might also be called, space, and matter.
So the ether is the space. The ether is space-time. You got the drive, man. We just in the LibriVox recording of the ether and the theory of relativity. And what is Nikola Tesla? What does Tesla got to say? And back to my man, Thierry, up to my jigger. Let go. I mean, what does Tesla got to say about this, man? They're charging us for energy every month, right, Cons? We got to pay electrical bills. Yeah, we got to pay these companies for the ether. Nah. It's like paying for the pure water. It's like paying for the water.
Particles of the same speed as the blazing sun, which has an immensely higher temperature. Now he goes on to talk about radio broadcasts, which were of incredible fascination back in the day. People were like, well, what's being emitted from a broadcast station? Today, all human beings take things, absolutely everything for granted, really, human beings do. It's because they're not really truth-seeking, intelligent creatures. You just take stuff for granted, you turn on a radio and you receive a broadcast. But what are you receiving? How is the broadcast able to penetrate through walls and concrete and penetrate through all sorts of stuff? What is a radio wave? Is something being emitted? What is it? It is the ether, and this going to go on to some Nikola Tesla quotes on that. Coming out of wild.
That's why we say we in the ether. It's 432 drop radio, but we in the ether.
Waves, and of course a wave is another thing, as I've stated explicitly. There are only that and those things which wave. A wave is not a thing. It is still true that they are of the same character as light waves, only they aren't transversal but longitudinal. As a matter of fact, radio transmitters emit nothing else but sound waves in the ether. And if the experts were to realize this, they would find it very much easier to explain the curious observations in the applications of these waves. I have to make a side reference to the works of Charles Proteus Steinmetz and Electrical Discharges, Waves, and Impulses. The book was published in 1917. And even back then, he was actually more intelligent than Nikola Tesla. I don't care if you agree with me. He even had more patents than Nikola Tesla. An ingenious guy. He said, and this was 103 years ago, he said even in his day that scientists and electrical theorists had completely confused and conflated the nature of what is electricity. They didn't understand. He said it explicitly. They had no idea what electricity was. He said, if you understood electricity as the combination of dielectricity and magnetism, or phi times psi equals electrification, then you'd understand easily what electricity is, and you'd understand the phenomena of electricity, and this is the reason why he actually wrote Electrical Discharges, Waves, and Impulses, and he wrote several other books. One is on spurious currents. He actually figured a whole lot of problems out in early electrical transformations and broadcast phenomena of broadcasting of power from point A to point B. And this is about this correct understanding of what dielectricity is, and what magnetism is, and what explicitly what electricity is. But getting back to Nikola Tesla, the assumption of the Maxwellian ether was thought necessary to explain the propagation of light by transverse vibrations, which can only occur in a solid. So fascinating was this theory that, and by the way, broadcasts, into deep space, broadcasts through a vacuum. We're not talking about a medium here. There's no such thing as a light particle. Radio, of course, is part of the electromagnetic spectrum, just as visible light. There's no distinction between gamma radiation, visible light, and broadcast radio. They're just different frequency and power intensities. They're all exactly the same thing, EMR, electromagnetic radiation. But what is it? What is the medium? Medium, keyword ether here. What is the medium of the actual phenomena? We're talking about gamma radiation or visible light or broadcast radio. And people today don't even think about stuff like that. They completely take it for, radio is just a broadcast, and I turn on my radio and I receive. Well, what's the medium? What? I mean, is something moving from the broadcast station to your antenna? If you were to be driving down, somewhere between the moon and the Earth in outer space in the vehicle, I mean, in a vacuum, there's no particles that are flying from a broadcast station, to your radio receiver. There's not actual atoms or particles involved. It's completely dismissed with
The atomistic theory of
what light is, because radio, light, and gamma are exactly the same thing. What's waves? Scientists today will tell you this. Waves of what? There's such a thing as a wave. A wave is not a thing in actual science and physics. They will tell you that it is.
I want to try something a little different. If you're in a space that allows you to do so, I want you to close your eyes.
Do you have to abolish light itself? Or just the particles make up creation? Clearly, when they abolish the ether, they're abolishing the creator, man. They're abolishing Most High over everything. They're abolishing everything in between. They want everything to be isolated. They want everything to be separate. They're abolishing everything in between. So you come from nothing.
We'll tell you that it is. But if you ever want to tick off a science, say wave of what? You keep talking about waves. Waves of what? Energy. There's another thing they've never defined. You actually go look up the Wikipedia definition of energy. There's actually no clear one sentence. There's actually no explanation at all, much less a simplex one-line explanation of what the term energy refers, nor do they ever define what a field is. Well, fields are lines of force. Well, that's a conceptual abstraction. There's no such thing as lines. That's human conceptualization. That's concept reification, which is a huge fallacy, which belies the absolute apathy of intelligence of the common human critter. Lines of force, that's what a field is. What do you mean force? A force of what? When you say force, it's like you're talking about waves. Force of what? What upon what else? You push it against the wall, you're applying force? Well, I'm exerting calories pushing against the wall. It's force.
Hey, let the force be with you, my nigga. Here are the secrets of the ether, man. And again, I'm taking these perspectives, man, from these scientists. Shout out the Gospel of Sophia, secrets of the ether, man. We are belly flopping in some of what they're talking about the Akasha, about the ether itself, man. What's the Akasha? The frequency, your memory, your water.
So, in that etheric body that we're teaching from age 10 to 14 is really the history of all of mankind. We're teaching that to the children because the children are actually going through those stages themselves. That is something that is very little understood, and in fact, you have an ego, and we can talk about that in another tape someday, about the fact that you have 3 egos, but we're going to talk about at least one of them today. So, physical, etheric, astral, ego. What is this etheric body? As I have said before, I went into Waldorf education because Rudolf Steiner said that from age 7 to 14, a child's ether body is at its height of growth. And if you really want to understand the etheric body, you should look at a child in those 7 years. That would be from grade 1 until grade 7 in the Waldorf curriculum, the curriculum that Rudolf Steiner created. Waldorf schools are a worldwide network of basically school reformation based upon Steiner's curriculum. So, in that etheric body that we're teaching from age 7 to 14 is really the history of all of mankind. We're teaching that to the children because the children are actually going through those stages themselves, and we are giving them what they need as nourishment for each one.
So think about a child between 7 and 14. Think about all the BS that they're being taught. You know what I'm saying? They really are redefining a child's foundation between the ages of 7 and 14 years old, and it has to do with the secrets of the ether, the energy, the frequency, the water that's flowing through.
Each one of those stages, now, the human being is not fully developed in some ways of looking at it. In a system of 7, we're on either stage 4 or 5, depending upon which of the rounds that you're looking at. But we are somewhere like in a pendulum swing that started at 1, 2, 3, 4, and now at the very bottom of that pendulum swing, we've started on the way up. And 5, 6, and 7, just like in the curriculum, 1st grade through 7th grade, we can see a process of coming down into matter, incarnation, and a process of excarnation. And the very forces that led down are the forces that are transformed and utilized on the way up, the forces that science would probably call inertia in this particular example. And so we're somewhere in the 4th. And when we're talking about consciousness, we're probably in the 5th. As you look at this swinging of the 7, Steiner refers to these as incarnations of the earth. But even more than that, he refers to them as states of being, like minerals, plants, animals, humans, states of consciousness, like trance consciousness, that would be sleep with no dreams, or dreams, or waking consciousness, or we could see them as dimensions. He describes them as dimensions. The first being actually just existence, a point, no dimensions, and then a line and a plane, and then 3 dimensions, so we're in the 4th. And we can actually see that in all the descriptions that we would look at in nature, from a monarch butterfly to the stages that a child goes through between between age 1, which should be at age 7, to grade 7, which should be at age 14.
You see why this public school information, is so important to hijack, because it traps them between those ages, 7 and 14. What are they going to be fed is going to, really make and build their foundation forever. You know what I'm saying? So this is all the time for us to really say, okay, this is the playbook. This is the hijack playbook. This is when they put their foundation in to overwrite the program, to overwrite the system.
As we look at the child from 7 to 14, we can see an ideal presentation of the etheric body. That is where you can learn the secrets that I'm about to tell you. In any system that you want to study, when you refer to the ethers, you'll probably only find 4 ethers that are mentioned: warmth, light, sound, and life. Warmth we know of. Light, we think we have an idea what light might be. When we say sound in terms of ethers, we're talking about also chemical reactions, the valence between atoms. We're talking about electrostatic, electromagnetic forces that go on, and then actually electrostatic forces, and then electromagnetic forces, or more, the next stage, which is called life ether. Now, life ether is exactly as it says. It's wherever life comes to exist. But we must remember that we exist on a thin, thin membrane on the surface of an earth that is one that is not like any other that we know of in the universe that we've found so far. And in this very, very, very thin atmosphere, we have warmth around us all the time, and we don't think about it. We have light flooding the air, and we seldom think about it. We have sound and chemical reactions going on that we can't even conceive of. And later we'll talk more about the sound that planets make, called the harmony of the spheres, and the way those sounds, those vibrations ray into the ether body of the human being, because those 7 planets, the sun and 6 planets, is another representation of the 7. And so what we are looking at when we look into the outer world or the human body is the same thing. We're looking at systems and cycles of 7. And when we talk about ethers, the warmth ether, light ether, sound ether, life ether, we're talking also about dimensions, ancient time periods called ancient Saturn, ancient Sun, ancient Moon, and now the Earth, where life can come, and life as we know it can come to birth as a human being with consciousness. But in fact, we live amongst minerals, plants, and animals. And if we thought about it for very long, we'd realize that they're somewhat out of time. They're frozen spirit. in a way, that has been placed here so that we have a place to walk on, something to eat, animals to relate to, and the benefits of all that animals have ever done to give to the human being, the paragon of animals. It's the human being's form, the perfect form of the universe. So we have to thank these past stages, these dimensions. And Rudolf Steiner says that there are 7 dimensions, in fact, and as we transform one dimension, we move into another dimension. And so we're yet to go into the 5th, 6th, and 7th stages. There's still 3 more stages to go. We're in the 4th stage. Those ethers that we talk about that are in most of the traditions, those 4, warmth, light, sound, and life, are known fairly well. They're very little understood. There are many associations, correspondences, and ramifications that can be made from those applied to the outside world in a way that can actually show you the manifestation of the spirit as it comes into existence in the physical plane. And now science is proving this again and again by finding more and more evidence that insinuates that which is the ethers, the invisible forces, the invisible particles. In some cases they call them etherons, in other cases they're waves. They use ether.
In this case, it's HaWah, to exist. The abolishing of the ether is abolishing of the creator. That's what science does, man. They want to play God of gravity. You got to believe in it. It's a theory, not a law. It's a theory, not a law. They want to abolish the ether.
And the variety of ethers and numbers of ethers as solutions to almost all of the modern mathematical theories of the existence of the universe and how.
And just, shout out to Sanguru, Akasha, the most mysterious of the 5 elements. So the 5th element is the ether itself, the universe, right? Yeah, man. The most mysterious, because they're trying to abolish it to cause a vacuum of nothingness in your subconscious.
And how it came to be. So we see that the moderns have now caught up to where the ancients were thousands of years BC in their Vedic writings when they talked about the 7 ethers and about the way they came into existence.
Okay.
And the way that the principal ether is called Akasha. And Akasha ether cannot really be defined. You can study it all you want, and you can look at the systems that derived afterwards, and you will not come up with a very...
It's unknown, like the dragon. You can't talk Akasha. You can't talk quantum. You can't talk dodecahedron. You can't talk either. You can't talk about the copper colored con in America, man. The Akasha records are your mem sauce, or the water, or your memories.
Very clear description of Akasha. As a matter of fact, H.P. Blavatsky, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, talked more about the ethers than practically anyone, and she was revealed what's called the secret doctrine from the East. And in her works are many, many references to what the ancients say about the ethers, how they came into being, about their metamorphosis and progression and evolution. And she says that this first Akasha, this first being, and these are now beings to them, they are not forces. And she can't quite describe it. She actually makes up a new word to describe this being, calls this being Fohat. Later, Alice Bailey says that Fohat is the astral magnetism of the sun. Blavatsky would define the Fohat as the Logos, or as Eros, and many other things. She was she had a great aversion to Christianity.
Right, Christianity. Yeah. This is when they get into their Gaias and all their other stuff, right? Their new ageness of things, putting on new titles, new energies, calling them beings, calling them idols. Instead of the energy being the energy, it has to be a being for them to worship. This is how the hijacks look at it. Their Sophia is wisdom. Our wisdom is our Ma. You understand? You understand? You see, man? You see clearly, man? For the dismount, there's a link from worthknowingthat.com. Give me just, a little bit of diagrams on the ether field that was being discussed, the Michelson-Morton experiment for you to recon further, scientifically proven since 1986, because this is when they redid the experiment. The ether is an invisible material thought to permeate all the empty space in the universe. Now it's just empty vacuum. Before there was a material, there was a connection, or the water, they keep calling it. If I'm a Giannini, Worlds Beyond the Pole says it's all connected. More water, more land, more vegetation. That empty space, you see that darkness, or that, when the sun comes out, that reflection of the blue sky is more water, is more ethers, man. That ether moving is the water moving. East to west, east to west, right? Circular pattern. Counterclockwise, clockwise. So it's a great link for you to dig on. Michelson Moreland experiment was undertaken to prove this scientifically from the original experiment in 1887. They felt there was no evidence for the findings, and this got published across all scientific journals. However, when redone in 1986 with better equipment, scientists concluded that the field exists from the findings. HaWah exists. This is science, man. They want to read about everything converse, adverse to reality. Many believe that these findings should have gone mainstream and all scientific journals should have been updated. This should have made the cover of every newspaper, magazine in the world, changing everything for the scientists. And perhaps this is why they chose to ignore it. Hijack City. This ignorance can mislead humanity in many ways, mislead the Naga in many ways. They teach what is convenient to students in schools, right? They teach you to spell what's convenient to the hijack, fakery, illusion, necromancy, and it prevents us from moving forward in the right direction. Instead, it was kept very low profile. 1986, the United States Army later duplicated the Michelson Morley experiment, right? Instead of waiting for the Earth to move to prove the win, they later duplicated the Michelson Morley experiment and had positive results, and they published the result as a small article in the scientific journal called The Journey of Nature on the 14th of August, 1986, volume 322. Is it play? Special relativity. Special relativity. Let's go, man. You got the link. Let's go. Platonic solids, love to the Templar. So you have shapes, right? But then you have platonic solids. Now you are correlating these connections in a whole nother atmosphere, a whole nother dimension. The triangle becomes a tetrahedron, the cube, the hexahedron, this octagon, the octahedron, and this 12-sided, dodecahedron, right? This isosahedron situation, 20 sides. And all this correlates, Managa, to the elements. Look at the angles. Tetrahedron 720, 7 plus 2 is 9. Octahedron 1,440, 1 plus 4 is 9. Hexahedron 2,160 degrees, 2160. 2 plus 1 plus 6 is 9. Isosahedron 3,600 degrees, 3 plus 6 is 9. Dodecahedron 6,480, 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 plus 8 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. The secret of the 9, Manak. This is why the 9 represents HaWah, and this is why they take us out our 9 code. Whether we're talking 180 degrees or 360 degrees, it's all 9. The signature of HaWah. We're just talking about tonic, solid. So, Plato associated one solid with each of the 4 basic elements: fire, earth, water, air, right? That's the dragon. Each of those: fire dragon, earth dragon, air dragon, the flying dragon, right? Water dragon, like Leviathan. He reserved the 5th for the heavens beyond the stars and planets, and they call that the universe, right? Or the ether, right? Or space, right? Or that divine air or divine water. But water is combined with the what? When the water is combined, this dodecahedron is the combination of ether and water. The water and the ether. Now you got a what? Vaporized structure of melanin or carbon. Ooh. You melanated copper colored cons are the combination of the dodecahedron and the icosahedron. You are the combination of the ether and the water. That's the frequency they can't touch. And this is why they keep their foot on your neck bone. This is why I tell you from Africa, so you don't connect your vortexes. You don't connect to your portals, your 9 spiral. But we just surfing the wave of possibilities, the light of possibilities, the connection, my not. Dodge hijacks and dodging all interference patterns, man. As we talk frequency, as we talk the secrets of the ether, just remember what they say when they connect the 432. We're going to get more into the frequency, the 432, you know what I mean? And since we're talking quantum and energy and frequency, and 4 plus 3 plus 2 is 9, they like to have the dualities, right? Oh, Thoughty boy likes to put his dualities in the mix, you know what I'm saying? So you got the 528 and you got the 432. Oh, the frequency of love over here, DNA repair, and they put properties over here with the 432. I think Thoth, always wants an alternative frequency. Because on the scale, where A equals 432, A equals 444, that 444 is the 528. In the C, you have this A scale, you got the C scale. The 528 represents C equals 528. That 432 represents A equals 432. So if A equals 432 and C equals 528, on that same solfeggio scale, that 528 is A equals 444. All good, but it's a lot closer to 440 than the A equals 432. So would you rather have the A432 or the A444? I guess it depends. So you're going to get magical principles, magical properties out of both. You know what I'm saying? But one is closer to the 440, which is closer to their planetary Jupiter or Saturn flow. Because 528 represents Saturn for these hijacks, you know what I'm saying, in real time. So this is why it's a duplication. And it's a phantom right in our face bone. Hey, we out of here, baby. Ahab, my jigger, you know what I'm saying, again, for sparking up this Michelson Morley experiment. And, making it, right on our mind bone, man, so that we can continue to understand the secrets of the ether or the space between. If they abolish the space between, they abolish HaWah, they abolish the connection. You know what I'm saying? And this is why it's so important for them and their science with no proof, no evidence, to say, oh, no, you're just in a vacuum, boss. No experimentation. We just in a vacuum, man. That's it. You in a vacuum. Deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Nothing is here. Nothing to see here, boss. We just in a vacuum. So we accept it. We believe in it. We believe in gravity. We accept it. Or we keep investigating. And if
that
you
can
ain't
record
learned nothing
sounds
by
in
now,
space. And from ancient geniuses to today's scientists, there are plenty of options and information out there to help anyone make the right decision between these two frequencies. All it takes is a bit of research and an open mind about what you are likely to find. What is the 432 Hz frequency? For many people, the 432 Hz frequency is already something quite familiar that they use every day. But for those that don't know much about it, here are a few things you should be aware of. First of all, this is one of the oldest frequencies ever in tuning. It's so old, in fact, that there were instruments found in Egyptian sites that suggest it was used by the singers of the day. Yes, those instruments didn't necessarily have too much money to them. But archaeologists could still measure what kind of sounds they made and see what their frequency was. The 432 Hz frequency is mentioned pretty often in music history. That's because this is the frequency that Verdi and other composers used to tune their instruments before playing them. Although the composers liked using the 432 frequency, in 1939, it was decided to standardize all tuning to a 440 Hz frequency. There have been a lot of theories about this move, some of them even including the Nazis and the Rockefeller Foundation. Others even go further and say that the entire music industry is being used to corrupt people by using music designed to play at a 440 Hz frequency and so stimulate the aggressive side of people.
Whoa.
It wasn't until 1939 that an international conference held in London recommended to use A440 as a compromise between the various tuning systems used at the time, some of which reached beyond 450 Hz. In fact, the BBC required their orchestras to tune to A440 instead of A439 because 439 is a prime number, and that frequency was difficult to generate electronically with standard electronic clock.
The 430.
Oh, in other words, they want to put you on time. The ether. They want to take you out the ether, put you on their god of time. And they had to get you out the prime, the Optimus Prime. They had to put you in straight up hijack static. So everything coming out your radio, TV is in 440 Hz to this day. My naga, to this day.
432 Hz frequency is also closer to the Schumann resonance, or the frequency of the Earth. The Schumann resonance is at around 8 Hz. So tuning any instrument to a multiple of that, which 432 is, would give anyone doing so a much sharper sound, more in tune with the natural world around them. Granted, some may say that the Schumann resonance has changed over time, and it may not be a perfect 8 Hz. But considering that Schumann resonance was first measured in 1960, that's a pretty good match. 432 also appears in texts about the Great Flood, as described by the Babylonians. For them, 432,000 years passed between the moment of creation and the Great Flood. And they're not the only ancient civilization to connect this number to important things in their culture. Ancient...
We're going to get more. You know, this is just a teaser. We're going to compare it and talk about more of the 528. I'm just letting you know it's all frequency. It's all ether. Space-time. Space, vacuum of space, all this talk, just the talk of HaWah. All that connects you. All that is connected, my naga. You know what I'm saying? And on the clock, how do you time travel? We're talking about the patterns, circular patterns, or, you know, east-west, west-east. Understanding your orientation, get you off the grid, get you clear so you can see clearly. Ahab to the cons, and all my nagas surfing the wave. You know what I'm saying? Today, yesterday, from day one, we're here together. There is no separation, and it's all happening. It's all connected in the ether, my naga. Shalom.